you.
Wow.
Sorry. Anyways, instead of makeup with Stephanie, we're making these stupid tinfoil hats that Roy requested. You think I didn't come prepared? Come on now.
So
Now, you take a tinfoil, and we're just going to do this. Because this is all we really need to do. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. He did a little how-to video, and he was way more descriptive on it than I am. But I'm just going to kind of guess.
Wow.
Oh, wait. Now you look like...
Yeah. Where's the little thingy on the top?
Shh. Leave it to the professionals, Roy.
Okay, I'm not touching it.
So then you take it and go like this. Because Roy is convinced that there is... I don't know. Then we're going to do a little flare. I don't have my earplugs in, so let me know when we're going up on Facebook. Jess, would you like a tinfoil hat?
Okay.
I had an extra one. Yeah, I'm just gonna rip this. Like that. I don't know what does this protect? Boy, commentary. There we go. Now he is an antenna. I'm not going to look like an idiot.
No, you have to have
Okay.
the
Oh, all right. All right. Okay.
There's no way you're getting around the tinfoil hat.
You guys are live.
Yes, we know we're live on Newswire Daily.
Your mic's not on.
My mic's not on. Well, maybe I should turn the mic on.
Apparently,
How is
instead of makeup
How
with
did
Stephanie,
you know I had a sound check going on there?
we're doing tinfoil
If you
hat
know
day.
we're doing, yes, we're going.
I wasn't going to do one, but now he's making me.
You're on
I want to
that.
be a cook.
So that, well, you're on a good.
I'm going to be a chef.
You're in a good what?
No, I want to be a chef.
Well,
All right. Happy?
better.
Wow. Look like a
That-
giant condom.
Now that everybody's wondering what the heck is going on, we
I don't know either. That's why they call me Easy Beau. He tells me to do, and I say, okay. And this is what I end up looking like.
that we were on Monday and we did the tinfoil hat segment on what's going on with all this coronavirus stuff. So we're just having a little fun with all the nutty madness that's going on with this whole enchilada deal of coronavirus going on that. We'll cover it. We'll have Susan Shelley on the bottom of the
fine.
show when we finally get serious to that, when we come on KMET on that.
Do I have to get serious?
Well, we can a little bit, but we got some videos. I'll have
Things
to
I
look
do for the show.
I'll have to look at them because I really didn't remember which ones I had. But one thing I want to talk about a little bit, it was mentioned a little bit. I think New York Governor Cuomo was on a little bit today about the deal, and I just want to get your overall thoughts, opinions on this. And it's something that's been weighing on my head on this, because people are just not meant to be cooped up, not doing anything,
Definitely not.
not being able to told anywhere to go. Now that works for a week or two or so, but they're talking about at least another month, if not longer, in through the summer. They keep extending this time out. People are going to go, in my opinion, people are going to go stir crazy. Overall this stuff. It's getting to the point of that. And I mean, Tom Del Beccaro wrote an article yesterday in Epoch Times, and if you go to my Facebook on just my personal page, Roy Bleckert, you can see it. We probably put it in there to share it. Same thing, he said, maybe the stuff of the density or, the urbanization of our suburbs or wanting everybody to go in a city or this, you keep occurringly increasing like this, especially here. We want to increase the density. We want to do mass transit. We want to get you out of your cars, into walking, and all this other stuff. I like your little tail thing
I know, I
better.
did like a little flower.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
But and he said, maybe it's time to end this, this little socialist dream that they've been having, jacking up our gas prices, not fixing our roads, putting bike lanes in, wanting to put stacker apartments, give everybody a little 200 square foot cubicle, and you get to told where, when, how, and why, and what to go, and what time to do it, and yada, yada, yada. That's kind of the impetus behind the tinfoil hats, too, is, like I said, I've tried to stay off the conspiracy theories and the Agenda 21s and all the other stuff that's been going on. But again, I've just been getting a real bad feeling. I got a bad feeling. That night they diverted the flight from Wuhan, China to Ontario over to March. I said, something's not right about this whole deal. And it's been going increasingly downhill from that point. You could say Moreno Valley, Riverside, Paris is the epicenter of the point where it went downhill in America, but we can come with that. But to me, that was the turning point of that. But and I said it a little bit, I think, when we were on.
You can't look at the TV and take us seriously. Oh my gosh.
Well, no, you got to have a little fun with this stuff, else you will go stir crazy.
I already am going stir crazy
on that. But no, I said it, I think, on Monday or so about the density and stuff and why, Roy measures it and always his businesses, property and stuff have been measured in acres and not square feet. People were not meant to live jammed in together, close together. That's why, when I see apartments or trailer parks or high density, and later on when this thing goes on, we're going to bring out the famous rat study that was, I think, done in the 50s.
Why?
Because it shows you what happens when you take the rats, which are living individually, and you start cramming them together and making them live more densely. You're going to see what happens, and this is exactly what happens, and you see it. Sociology is they're throwing stuff back and forth at each other on that.
I got a headshot.
Yeah. That's why I say, Jesse, you shouldn't move because you're in danger of getting it. If you stay still, your odds of you getting hit are remarkably diminished.
Whatever. It's a hat. Put me on my point.
But, no, it is. And that's why certain, there's a percentage of people that said, watch out for the SCAG and these alphabet soups organizations that are trying to do this. They've been doing it. They've been trying to work it more and more in California with all this noise nonsense going on. But so what's your take on the conspiracy theories?
I don't like it. Okay, so you said in one of the videos, and they said that some people are saying 5G is to blame. Did you see that one? I don't know if I agree with that. I think that is like going a little out there. I think 5G is bad. Don't get me wrong. I think we should get rid of it and not have it here. I am completely against it, but I don't think it would be to blame for the coronavirus. Do you think that's a little... I don't really think it's conspiracy, though. I think that they're just not handling it right.
Well, China is probably one.
For sure. I don't think it was created to like take out mankind. I think history is just repeating itself. Like one of the articles you also shared was 1968. There was another flu that went around that killed a bunch of people, kind of like what it's doing right now.
No, not even close. The Hong Kong flu in 1968 killed 100,000.
But now we're more
States
educated.
And 1 million. And look at the I'm going to say we were about 100 million, maybe 100 something million. Versus 330, 370, I think we're at now in the United States. And I think probably maybe 2 billion, 3 billion versus 7 worldwide. And it killed 1 million. That's not withstanding the Spanish flu. It killed 1 million worldwide and 100,000 in the United States. You take the percentage of that, that's like over 300,000, what you're talking about today. And we weren't in some mass panic. We didn't shut everything down. And again, I get to this point of, Dr. Victory, and I can't remember what her name was. I just heard her on the radio a little bit ago. Same thing, and people have brought it out. Como even brought it out. Maybe this whole state lockdown wasn't the obvious. the deal. But let's go back to the density part, or where this started, and maybe wind it into 5G. What was the first and most wired city in the world on 5G?
Oh crap! I don't know what. San Francisco,
No.
California.
Wuhan, China.
Oh, I knew that. I thought you meant in the U.S. What are we? What's?
Worldwide means all around the
Oh,
globe.
whatever. Tinfoil hat's cutting off my circulation. It was in that video too. Damn it! And I got it wrong too on the video. Anyways, what was I gonna say? Dang it! I forgot what I was gonna say. But they were saying in that video though, you go outside and you say, "Uber, send me a car," and it sends you a car, face recognition, it knows who ordered the car, it drives up to you. That's like
Where do you think this
Frickin'
started?
terrifying. Well, I know it was out in China where they
Wuhan,
do that, but
China
that's
was
just
ground zero
terrifying.
for this, and this is breaking out. What was a country in Europe
and where?
that got Europe?
I like that you said overs.
They got the fastest and most and quickest up on 5G.
I don't know.
Italy.
Aw. I love Italy. So you think really that the 5G has to blame for the coronavirus? That's what you're going with.
I'm
That's what
not
you're-
saying that.
You're not saying that, but you're hinting towards it.
United States.
Then why the hell are we doing 5G? Let's get rid of it. Can you write somebody and tell them to say go?
Well, let's work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, United States. What do you think's the most wired city
New York.
in the United States? U.S.
New York. Wait,
It's a
city?
good guess. Wrong.
LA?
Atlanta.
Mm.
Which is weird. And
No, it is weird.
it starts fitting because where were they most concerned? The last report I seen from Fauci, the sawed-off guy, or it was Birx, could have been Dr. Birx at the press conference a couple weeks ago, they were saying the outbreak is starting in New York. We're watching it in Washington, California, and Georgia. And I'm thinking, well, it makes sense. Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, big Asian Chinese population, especially New York where it's breaking out, the
Right.
density of the population, yada, yada, which is why, again, another reason for the density. People that want to live in apartments or trailer parks or stuff, to me, got rocks in their heads because this is how this stuff, not mention the socioeconomic stuff that we'll get into later on, but just from the disease, pandemic stuff, they said like one of the worst places you can be in that I saw a report, recirculating air, like air conditioning when you're living in a big apartment complex, yada, yada, yada. But I went, well, how? It didn't make sense. Okay, the other ones did. Georgia didn't make any sense. Well, now it does if you want to buy into the 5G conspiracy theory that's going on. Go.
I can see it, but I don't know. How do you blame, I don't know, satellites on that? Because isn't it basically satellites? I mean, I do think 5G is bad for you.
No. 5G, that's where cell tower. You see the cell
But
towers.
they're saying like cell towers.
Well, yeah, you see the cell towers. You'll
Patty
see
writes
one.
when we're sitting too close. Scoot over.
There. Oh, shut up.
Thank you, Patty.
There's you see in the cell tower. There's one prominent one there by Nason in the 60 freeway. You see it sticking up in the air right by the Target. If
Yeah.
you ever notice. But you'll see one every mile or two. If you really notice, you'll see cell towers of that. 5G does not travel far, so it's got to be like every couple hundred feet or 200 or 300 feet or in the office building, and it's radiating. 5G is much more compact, but it doesn't travel far like 2, 3, and 4G does. So the cell towers or the transmission's got to be much tighter.
Right.
That's why it's much easier to do in a city urbanized environment. That you probably won't see 5G out in the hinterlands or Waterloo, Iowa, or stuff like that because it's more spread
Well,
out.
then they were saying that they have to cut down trees to get the signal to go
Correct,
how
because
it needs to. So then now we're going to start losing our trees, and I think we need more trees. I think that's
But
where we messed up.
that's what I'm saying is on that stuff is there's a lot of part of it on the deal that you just can't that it's much different. And I mean, there's been controversies. There's been the people, the experts that said, 5G is dangerous, and there's been reports, no, 5G is great, doesn't have any effect, yada yada yada.
I think 5G is going to end up being something that we're going to regret. And why can't people just be a little more patient instead of having your movie download in 3.2 seconds?
There you
Maybe
go.
just wait 2 minutes.
That,
Now we're being selfish, and we're going to end up hurting ourselves over our selfishness.
Find that video in the IEN message deal of the threat.
Please.
The threat of 5G, that one, I think it's probably the first one you've seen by the general, on that. I want to play that one. That one's a pretty good one of that. It's a brigadier general, retired, that did a recent interview just before this whole coronavirus thing deal. What sparked me on this was that little Netflix deal out of South Korea or whatever that, said, hey, they're going to release a coronavirus in 2000, or there was a Netflix deal in 2018, man-made, because everybody keeps denying that it's not a man-made deal, which we don't know.
I don't think it is.
You'll never prove that coming out of China.
I thought it was because some guy ate a bat or something.
Well, that's what they were trying to explain, but who knows?
So you think? I mean, we could sit here all day and discuss every which way this virus could have been created, and we're gonna drive ourselves insane because conspiracy theory always makes me kind of have that weird icky feeling. I don't like it, but I don't think it's man-made though. I mean, I can see. I'm going with the bad thing. It makes me feel better.
But again, it's like a SARS H1N3, the SARS virus that the Hong Kong flu was, which eventually, my understanding, is what turned in the swine flu deal of the 90s when it jumped from humans to pigs. And then it jumped back and forth, and we had the whole swine flu thing. No matter how it goes, again, I think, a lot of what they're saying just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, we're going to bend the curve, but as everybody said, from Dr. Victory, who's been on the show, to Fauci, to Birx, and everybody, you're not going to eliminate the amount of cases total. You might be able to bend the curve with the social distancing, da-da-da-da-da. But again, where does it come? Again, so social distancing or stuff, I can see it spreading rampantly in New York in the density for some of the things we talked about and much more, because people are living densely or they're closer. They're living in this recirculated air, da-da-da-da-da. So the stuff, once it breaks out, it's going to go much faster than...
See, but I think I think it was Dr. Kelly that came on and said, get it now, just get it over with.
Yes.
Because we're gonna. I was explaining to my friend today, who I talk to all the time. I love her. Anyways, once we come out of quarantine and we're out in the public and we're getting back to our normal lives, if this starts going around again and then people are all getting sick, I'm gonna be freaking pissed. Like that, and I think that's what's gonna happen. Why? And I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to lose their lives. And I'm not saying let's all go out and spread this virus everywhere or anything like that by any means. And I'm not a doctor, but hiding from it and not exposing ourselves to it now, I think is just, in the end, it's going to be the biggest mistake that we made during all of this.
Exactly. And that's what, exactly, I think, Dr. Victory, I think you're spot on with your analysis of what she said. She said that, and we've talked about, treating New York City and Dr. Birx and Fauci were using that same stuff. They were, we're basing the stuff of what's been happening in New York and New Jersey, the 5 million people in 5 square miles, or 8 million or 10 million or what it is. And they're going on about all this stuff. How do you base that model on Waterloo, Iowa or something, which is totally different? I mean, out in the Freda Plains. This stuff, and I agree with you, that, and it, Dr. Victory said, it's a good thing that people get this, per se, of that. But all these scare tactics of, you might kill somebody because you might be carrying it and blah, da, 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 da. I'm just not 100%, not saying it, but I'm not 100% convinced it's right. Who we got on the phone?
It's Dwayne Roy.
What say you?
Well, Stephanie made a good point. What happens when we have another flu and they decide to shut the country down every time we have a flu, which is every fall, by the way? So here's the thing, and that dovetails into what I'm about to say. This has not a damn thing to do with the coronavirus. It has everything to do with shutting you down and putting their toe in the water to see how far they can go to shove you in your house, lock you down, and see how much you'll take before you finally say, I've had enough. It's not about protecting you from the virus. It's about controlling you in your own home. Now they're talking about putting an app on your phone to allow you to exercise your freedom of movement because you might be contagious or you might run into a contagious person. Now, I don't know about you, but I like my freedom. And as far as I'm concerned, if I want to play roulette and go get a virus that could potentially kill me, then that's on me. Do I think we need to test people? Absolutely. And I'm going to throw my hat into. And by the way, nice hats today, guys.
Thank you.
Got mine. Mine's already made. So I'll tell you this: it is man-made, and I sent Roy the stuff. He can look at it or not. Stephanie, you're more than welcome to look at it. And the reason why it is, and the way you can tell, an epidemiologist can look at this virus and tell you in 5 minutes. Because there are tracks left in the virus from an injection, from a protein injection that altered the virus. That does
I want to get to your point of what you said, what you first said about control. Because we're going to, I'm going to bring it out from the article from the MIT, and you're telegraphing a little bit of what's going on, but I've said it before. They do this stuff. It's called hiding in plain sight. They put this stuff out there, and before all you jump on Dwayne and say he's wearing a tinfoil hat too, and this is not plausible what he's saying. Wait till you see the MIT article that was written about 3 weeks ago. Of that. It may change your mind. Like this video we're going to play here, and have the other one. I think it's coronavirus caused by, and it's by Dr. Thomas in there. But if you got the one of the general, when you got that, play that clip here. Yes.
Yeah, what are you talking about, the general?
The general that I had on the coronavirus clip. Yes. See, it's the threat of 5G.
Oh.
That's where it's at.
President Trump?
No. It's a retired brigadier general. There's Donald J. Trump in 2013.
Remember, China is not our friends or not our ally. And it got like 300 retweets. It wasn't something big. He tweeted this back in 2014 or 2015. And then all of a sudden, one day, everybody in the news is talking about 5G. And prior to that day, we weren't really talking about it. And all of a sudden, hey, we got to be the leader in 5G. I'm like, 5G? So I'm going to start looking 5G. Okay, 1G, 2G, 3G. 1G is the regular phone back in the days. 2G is whatever. 3G is the iPhone, and then 4G is the latest phone. And then now 5G is going to be changing the game. And most people go to, 5G is just a faster phone, right? Because that's what initially, we've always seen the G linked to a phone. Oh my gosh, I can download a movie in 3.6 seconds now on Netflix, a 2-hour movie, where before it was 3 minutes or 6 minutes, whatever, right? When you think about 5G, what do you think about of 5G and the capabilities and what it can really do to whoever that has access to it?
That's a good question. So if you go back to 2007, when the iPhone came out.
2007.
The top 5 in market cap were AT&T, General Electric, Microsoft, ExxonMobil, and Shell. Right? The phone comes out in 2007. I had one, 3G network. It's not a very good experience. 4G network comes out. By the way, we're the second country in the world to build a 4G network. Now you've got something, right? So when Steve Ballmer laughed at Steve Jobs, said, we don't need one of those. When you took the platform, which was the iPhone, and you married it up to the 4G network, which was the pipe for data, and it was a fast enough pipe, now you can create the apps, services, and business models that in 10 years led to the top 5 in market cap being Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google, and Microsoft. Right? So the Chinese see this and they're like, the platform and the pipe. So the smartphone, this iPhone, which was the first one, then Android. So Apple and Google, right, dominate the mobile platform that the app services and business models of that economy are built on. Now look at the iPhone. It's a hardware, software, tightly integrated, closed-walled system like Steve Jobs liked, and the data was encrypted. Why was the data encrypted? Why did San Bernardino happen? Because Apple's an American company, right? They know you want privacy. They encrypt their phone. So now you've got the platform, and Android also went on to encrypt their platform. So both encrypted, right? So private devices. Take the cloud away from it. Just look at the device itself.
Sure.
It's meant to be a private device.
Right.
Why? It's American product. Fast forward, to 2009. China starts to look at that. Says, okay, we want to dominate the next level, right? Not just the technology. We want the app services and business models to be Chinese companies. And so Huawei gets hundreds of billions of dollars to develop 5G and ZTE. But then you have Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. So they're behind the Chinese firewall. They're protected. You can't have the fangs going in there. It's just the bats that control the e-economy within China. And then you start, at the same time you're developing 5G, right, the platform.
So there you go. And we'll go on to that, but there you see. China came up with a strategy. This is how we're going to dominate. We're going to make it go, oh, let's look at this. Look at how easy. Like, oh, you just think of Uber and the car drives.
It's insane. And then face
that's what
recognition picks you up.
This is what you think Trump, and that's why I put Trump warned about this 2013, wasn't running for office. Governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, was saying, Democrat, not part of the vast right-wing conspiracy, said today in the press conference, we got to stop buying gowns and ventilators and masks and stuff from China. Now, who else has been saying that and been getting chopped up in the dominant media for the last 3 or 4 years?
Of course, it's been Donald Trump. But did you see what they did to Mike Lindell? Here's a guy, the My Pillow guy, right? Here's a guy that's the true American story. This guy was a cocaine head, okay? He was a complete addict on the streets, almost lost his life, turned it around, got religion literally, and after finding God, decides to open up his company and employ a bunch of people. Now it's a great company. So you know what he does? He turns around and repurposes his equipment to make these masks. Not 10,000, not 20,000, 50,000 a day. Now, 80% of this guy, he turned his factory over, 80% of production to make these masks. And what do? Oh, they start making fun of this guy. Well, unless you're Mario Cuomo or Chris Cuomo on the Chicken News Network or one of the other Cuomos from New York. And while I'm on that subject,
we got about 30 seconds left, so you better run it quick.
I am so sick and tired of people from New York telling the rest of us out here how centralized they are and how the planet must revolve around New York City. There's a lot more people other than just in New York City. There's a whole big United States out there.
Stephanie will make you a tinfoil hat when you come back down.
I'll ship it to you.
What?
I also will be selling them.
Yes.
That. Thanks for being on, Dwayne.
Take care.
So, there you go. And there's a lot of stuff on that. There's more. There's a doctor that was on that that's been that was warning about 5G of that, and it's been we'll be bringing it out more as the weeks go on, and maybe as the days and weeks go on this stuff. But again, like I said, it's just increasingly every day I just keep getting a more uneasy.
1 minute.
about
1
all
minute.
this stuff.
Nice hat, Stephanie.
Thanks, Sean. I don't want to talk about it. Doris writes in, greetings to all you. Love the hats, very creative. We need some reason to laugh, not all this doom and gloom. Susan writes in, I think the government is just looking out for us. I'll read the article and see if it makes sense. I believe she was talking to Dwayne on that one. Doris writes in, hi, Dwayne. Send blessings to you. And Susan writes in, oh, please, this is far out there, but like the hats.
30 seconds.
See, and you didn't want to wear the hat.
It's hot. And I can't take myself seriously. Not that I do anyways, but no.
We're going to be
HP, no.
We're going to be joining.
All right, here we go.
1490.
Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of
Every day on the Mighty Met 1490 on IE Newswire Daily, and this is a
Wacky Wednesday. I changed it on you.
Something, yes.
I did not tell you.
Well, it is. No, that's probably apropos with the. For those of you watching or have been watching us on video, we're donning the tinfoil hats, and just to lighten things up because people have been taking.
Really? I thought we were serious.
I don't think anybody takes us seriously.
Well, yeah, half the time I'm not even listening to anything you're saying, so you know. Oh my gosh! But wasn't there like a TV show where they actually did this? Do you think it really like deters like?
Yes,
stuff
it
going
keeps
into
the
your brain?
aliens and all
Not
the
the
bad
aliens,
radiation waves from the 5G networks away from you.
I
and
wonder
back.
if after a week
It
I'd be
reflects
smarter.
them. Let's put that to the test.
No, it's making me too hot.
Yeah.
It's like a winter time kind of theory you need to do. You know what? My allergies, though, over the last couple days have been driving me crazy. My eyes are burning. They're itchy. They're watery. I'm all dizzy today. Your allergies bugging you?
No,
I think it's the 5G. It's kind of where I was going with. Telling you.
it's probably
Headache.
and probably
You know, maybe it's just you. I think I'm allergic to you. I'm just kidding.
No, you're not.
I know. Anyways. Today's April Fool's. Did anyone write in or call in, maybe if we have time, if you did any fun April Fool's jokes?
Yeah, they
Or was it
canceled.
canceled?
On top of that, they canceled April
I wanted to
Fools.
do something, but I never thought of anything.
Yeah, I mean, for all the stuff that they're coming up, I mean, we're
Now is like the time when we need the laughter the most.
Yes, it would be the.
What if we all wake up tomorrow and the government says, "Hey, that was all April Fool's joke. We just got you for like 3 weeks." That's probably not going to happen, huh?
That would be the ultimate April Fool's prank, I think, of all time if they pulled that off.
That would be horrible.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be that would definitely stir up a whole can of worms if that was the case.
That would not be
of that. Even though the government has canceled
everything,
including April Fool's Day. We have our longtime guest on, who's the editorial writer of the Press Enterprise, San Bernardino Sun, Inland Daily Facts. It's Inland Daily Bulletin, I believe that one. Redlands Daily
you
Facts.
did. It's a hat.
Yes, it's a tinfoil hat.
It's cut off, see?
Doing that. Vice President Howard
this
Jarvis,
makes me
Taxpayers
smarter.
Association, and Susan Shelley. Welcome back to the show with Stephanie and Roy, who are donning tinfoil hats just to lighten things up.
Well, happy April Fool's Day to both of you. How are
Yes.
you today?
Thank you.
Absolutely fantastic of that.
Good.
Trying to stay sane in a world that seems to be I didn't say that right
Wow.
either. But increasingly
There you
going
go.
insane with this whole enchilada.
I know I am.
Yes, I think people are going to lose their marbles at some point. As the weather gets warmer and the government is saying you can't go out, I think everybody's going to crack. In fact, I was just reading that in the town of Cumming, Georgia, they're rebelling, which is nothing unusual for the Confederacy, is it? That's what they do down there. So they are upset that the mayor put a shelter-in-place stay-home order effective today and said he was going to hire 150 police officers to enforce it. And I guess rebellion broke out because today the mayor posted something on Facebook saying, well, it appears that a great majority of our public does not want the government mandating the recommendations of public health officials. And there you have it. The rebellion has begun.
And I think that maybe we might want to mark this in day and time. This might be the first salvo of that. And we talked about it a little bit on at the top of the show on that is about density and stuff. And Tom Del Beccaro, I'm sure you're familiar with him. He is a former chair of the California Republican Party, Senate candidate, and commentator, writer too. He wrote a article yesterday about it, just briefly about maybe it's time, and we've talked about it with SB 50 and stuff, and you wrote about the density and stack and pack apartments and bike lanes and rapid transit and all this stuff are going on. He's saying maybe it's time to rethink this urbanization dream that started in the 70s that has been increasingly going, and start looking at we need to get back to looking at why people move to the suburbs, or why people, and it's always been my contention, and I think there's a lot of studies, people like space. They want their area of that where they can do things, and along with the socioeconomic consequences of this, and we brought it out a little bit, but when you have a dense population, look what happens. Wuhan, China, Italy, New York City, da-da-da-da-da.
Yes, and we ran into this before with the threat of terrorism, that when you have people packed tightly together in dense spaces, you have more potential victims for any incident and fewer ways to avoid that risk. And this is something people need to have their choices and their freedom about. This is not something the government should be mandating. There's no reason for it. There never was. And this started in the 70s. It was a planning fad that we should have public transportation and high apartments. Now they're saying, we have to have it for the climate. I forget what the reason was in the 70s that we had to have it. Probably the terrible oil shortage, or something that turned out not to be a shortage at all, because we have domestic reserves that no one knew about. So now it's the climate. If we don't all live in apartments next to train tracks, we're going to die in 10 years. Well, no, we're not going to die in 10 years, but we might get a pandemic infection, something or other, that comes to us from another country and spreads in densely populated areas where people are all pushing the same elevator buttons. It's not as safe as having a little more space, and there's no reason to have that kind of density because people can work remotely. They don't have to drive to work every day as they used to do, and we just need to open our minds to better solutions and more choices. That seems to me to be obvious, and maybe the silver lining in all of this.
I brought it out, and I'm going to have to get the video on it again of the famous rat study, I think in the 50s or 60s, that showed, they took rats and which are, moving around in their normal environment, and they started cramming them in more and more and more and more. And I remember this because this is one of the classes I took at Riverside City College when I took psychology, and that was one of the things.
Took psychology?
One of the things that this is one of the things, probably the most prominent thing I remember out of that class is watching that video and watching the effects of that, and why, along with yourself and me and Tom Del Beccaro and a few others out there, are sending the warning salvos up of, don't get sucked in to this, this utopia, as Dwayne, our caller earlier said, of he's up in Idaho and I don't want New York City moved up to me. I don't want to live that lifestyle for a lot of the things he mentioned, a lot of the same things you just did.
Right. Well, we have a federalist system. It's genius. The United States federalist system of government, where you have one government over the whole country, but it doesn't have all the power because the power is distributed to the states. And actually it was reversed. The states had the power first. They created the federal government on top of themselves for a few limited purposes. And gradually through American history, the federal government has grabbed more and more power, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad reasons. And now we are where we are. But still, the structure is brilliant because not every place is the same. And if you force people to all live under exactly the same rules, what works in New York doesn't work in Wyoming, and somebody's going to be mad about it. So this is a very stable system of distributing government power. It protects our freedom. It's the right way that the United States should be run. It's what we agreed to. The consent of the governed matters here. And the idea that local officials, governors, mayors can set all that aside and say we have a state of emergency and no one has any rights is just astounding to me. We've been through some things in this country before. This is not our first rodeo with a threat to human life. We've been through 2 world wars and the Cold War and terrorism, just to name a few, and financial crashes and all kinds of really scary things, and even the president being rude on Twitter, which some people think is some sort of natural disaster. We've had all of this, and we've come through it. The Constitution has been enforced through all of it. And now we're going to say we have a computer model of a projected epidemic, and therefore, because we're projecting that this number of people will get sick based on numbers from other countries, which are questionable in any case, because of this prediction, we're going to wipe out constitutional rights, including freedom of assembly and freedom to move from place to place, basic fundamental liberty, and the right to buy a firearm, although now they've gotten around that. Thanks to a decree from Homeland Security, we have our Second Amendment back. That's not quite the way that's supposed to work, but we'll take it. And we have Easter being canceled from coast to coast. What is that? And because of a projection from a computer model, they do not have the power to do that. If they want to make it voluntary, they can make it voluntary, but they do not have the power to wipe away constitutional rights and arrest people for walking on the beach. They do not have that power.
We're talking with Susan Shelley. She's editorial writer for many Southern California newspapers on that. Kind of dovetailing into her column, we don't need to densify to save the planet or solve our housing crisis. And I encourage everybody, to read her editorial on that. But you mentioned the Constitution part, and I want to shift gears on that a little bit because you wrote another probably just as important, because in L.A. County, the sheriff is trying to shut down gun stores, and tell them why COVID-19 is not a reason to strip us of our Second Amendment rights. Well, because the Second Amendment guarantees the right to keep and bear arms, and the U.S. Supreme Court has said, that's an individual right. You don't have to be part of a militia or an army to have that right. That belongs to you as an individual. And they said in a separate decision 2 years later, McDonald versus Chicago, they said it is a fundamental right that applies to the states. And what that means is the governor of California and anyone in the government underneath that cannot just arbitrarily stop people from exercising their Second Amendment rights. Now, what we have in California is a series of laws that prohibit online purchases of ammunition and firearms, for example. So the only legal way to exercise your Second Amendment right to purchase a firearm and ammunition for self-protection is to have a face-to-face transaction with a licensed dealer. And what the sheriff of Los Angeles County tried to do was declare all the gun shops non-essential and order them closed. He did that, then they set it aside because there was a legal opinion that said you can't do that from the county council. And then that was lifted apparently, and the sheriff reimposed his ban. And then over the weekend, the Trump administration Homeland Security Department issued a statement saying workers in the firearms and ammunition industry are part of the nation's essential infrastructure. And that overrode what the sheriff was doing, so now the gun stores can be open. But that's closed, open in the space of a week, which is just arbitrary and a complete infringement of constitutional rights. Because if there's no legal way to purchase a firearm and ammunition, they have cut off all the channels for the exercise of a constitutional right, and they can't do that.
Stephen writes, and I really like this question. Do you guys have any idea how this is affecting voting?
Voting for the November election? Or counting for the March 3rd election?
Probably, I would guess November.
It's having an effect in
well,
both
either
places.
one, yeah. Let's hope they don't do some fiddling with Prop 13, which I don't think, if they did that, that would probably be the biggest mistake they ever made. But go ahead, answer that. You know more about that stuff. You're really into that, so you know more about it than I do.
Well, I was just looking into the details of how a recount would work because there was a very close election in Long Beach where a sales tax increase was failing, and then in the very last update, it squeaks through by an amazing 16 votes. And so there may be a recount of that. So part of the recount process is they have a table with 4 county employees who hand count the ballots. Well, they can't have 4 because of social distancing, so there can only be 3. So that might increase the cost and the time that it takes. They might need an extension to recount that race. I don't know how it's going to wind up. And then if you want to be an observer, you can't be close enough to see it, so they're doing electronic, maybe cameras and monitors. I'm not sure how that's going to work. Now, for the November election, we might very well end up with all vote by mail, depending on how this shakes out and how long it takes, because the process of standing in line at a vote center or a polling place and touching the same equipment that everyone else has touched, theoretically, could spread a contagious disease if we were still concerned about that in October and November.
Very true.
So we'll see how that works out. And I'm not sure what happens to the political conventions. There's talk that the Democrats maybe want to change their convention, which I think is going to be in Milwaukee. Maybe it's not going to be in Milwaukee. Maybe it's going to be on Zoom or GoToMeeting or some such thing. I'm not sure how it's going to work. Joe Biden is still in his basement, and I'm not sure what's going to happen. Bernie Sanders won't get out of the race, so maybe he thinks he's going to be at the convention to make a speech, if there's a convention, if there are any speeches. So really, it's all up in the air how it affects voting for November.
Yeah, I've been increasingly hearing this voting by mail thing coming on, which could open up another whole can of worms of that on the election. But even in that, and you made a good point. I mean, there's nobody that's disappeared off the planet, it seems like, than old slow Joe Biden.
I think he's at risk because he's had health problems during his life, although I hope he's healthy now. And anyone in that age group is at risk, and this is a very dangerous virus for someone who has had health problems or is medically fragile in any way. So, he's right to be locked up at this moment. I hope this dissipates quickly. I really hope that this turns out to be just an enormous overreaction to bad numbers going into a computer model. I know it's very, very serious for people who are affected by it and are in the hospital, but the total percentage of people who are affected by it and in the hospital compared to the population of the United States perhaps doesn't justify bankrupting everybody, which is what's going to happen here.
Yes, that's what's got me more concerned than anything. They keep, they run this another month. I keep hearing talk of, well, maybe this is going to go on till June, July, through the summer of that. I mean, just 30 more days of this is going to have such a profound impact. Man, if they keep this stuff going on that over, which I see is not, again, I put this point out, this whole thing is probably a classic case of overreaction on the things you shouldn't be doing and underreaction on where you should have. And I don't see an end to this in sight. We got about a minute left. Wrap it up.
Well, I hope there's an end to it in sight. I really do, because if you look at the financial contagion of this, when people can't pay their rent, for example, and landlords can't pay their taxes, and the counties don't get their money, and then everybody who is in business needs a bailout, and where is the bailout going to come from if no one can pay taxes because no one is working, and there are no sales, and there is no sales tax? This is a financial hurricane circling until it kills everybody. And it can't be allowed to go on. They can't pretend in government that this is something they can patch up after we're done with it. They have to get a grip and find another way to protect the medically fragile, because this is a policy that will doom us all. And with that said, everyone should join the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, because we're going to restore California. We're the best hope of the future of this state to get a grip on this government and stop what's coming, which is tax increases.
10-4 on that, Susan. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye, Suzanne.
Bye, Stephanie.
But yeah, it's I mean, all serious aside, even with the tinfoil hats on and stuff, there's a lot, again, like the New York City model of there's just a lot of things that just don't add up in a lot of the things that they're doing or saying on this stuff. There is, and I mean, and even like when you're looking at it, and I mean, not to, you don't follow this stuff like.
No, I really don't.
Like I do or stuff. But when you're seeing the same things, like, what the heck is going on here? Why are we, that... And then, again, but you kind of loop back to this a little bit and why I talk about, being afraid to speak up or, war against a straight white male or, it seems like anytime you get to hitting people on that or, shouting it out, just the angst, or if you say something, we're just going to argue with you, a racist, and all this, not debate the facts or anything, just call names, racist, whatever, yada, yada, yada. See, this is a strategy like that. As we played the clip or the Twitter deal before Trump was president or running in 2013, he said, watch out for China. We can't be depending on these,
right.
stuff. Cuomo, the governor of New York, is like 180 degrees opposite on a political scale, is saying that today. Hey, he said it this morning. Go look. It's on Newswire on the press conference that we posted. He says, we cannot be dependent on China for ventilator stuff. That's where we're going to get all this stuff. We need ventilators, gowns, masks, da-da-da. We're looking to China to get this stuff. Those ventilators are about $25,000 a pop.
That's
when
crazy.
They're needing 10,000 of them or buying 20,000.
But then what are we
going
to do with all of them after? Not that I'm not saying, like, let's not get them because we need them, and I would never want anyone's life to go because of a ventilator, but...
No, and this is what
why can't we, like, all work together and just
exactly.
Kind of
This is
and
what
not
it
have to buy and...
This is what we should have, and it should not be a government deal. There should be a private enterprise deal or a company that says, okay, we're going to stock ventilators. And we're going to have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 of them. Okay, if New York's having the problem, boom, we ship them over here. We got them, boom. Okay, when New York's done with them, we disinfect them. We send them, okay, it's in L.A., we send them over there. Oh, there goes the old tinfoil hat. But, again,
here, you can wear mine.
That's where the free market... the free market definitely will fix this stuff if we let it work, and that's what Trump was saying. All the bad China deals and W-trade and stuff that we got into that Trump's got starting to get us out of that includes Bush's, both of them, Obama and Clinton, and all that other stuff of that of going on of that. It's just not a Republican. Who we got on the phone? We only got a minute or two. Hello, Pop. We got about a minute or two.
Pop, you want a hat?
Anyway, that doctor that died, Dr. Lee or whatever he was, he was warning China back in October that he was treating people and they were dying, and this was going from person to person. And they're talking about, and that World Health Organization, the guy was there, he's telling everybody, no, it won't be passed on, and China's doing a good job and everything. So they knew about it way back in October. So why are all of a sudden they're blaming everybody in the United States? We didn't know about it until January, middle January, before we really found out about it. It was really serious. They talked about it, but they never got serious about it.
Yes.
It kept telling the United States from China, oh, no, it can't be passed on. Well, that wasn't true. So
I'm really hoping, but I'm increasingly coming convinced or seeing it. This is not a classic Hegelism. Create a crisis where one doesn't exist and then walk in with the solution. What I'm afraid of is the 98.7% of us ain't going to like what that solution is. Got about 10 seconds to
Well, Coletta's plane didn't get changed around in midair with somebody didn't tell somebody something.
Exactly, and you hit it. I say that, I just got that gut feeling, that bad feeling, because I was sitting there watching when that come down. I just got a very bad feeling when that happened. I said, something ain't right about this.
They found out it was contagious. That's why they turned that plane around.
And it's went completely downhill from there. Thanks a lot for calling in, Pop.
Bye, Pop. I'll make you a hat. Okay, so Monday we highlighted Chili's, the one located off of Nason and Fur, and after the show, I actually went went online, sat in the parking lot, ordered my food. Not only was it super friendly to use and very easy, it came out quick for a great meal. I mean, it was amazing. And they have beer to go. I mean, I can't get enough. Burrito and wine to go. Is that sad that I'm excited about that? Can we keep this after all this is done? Can we keep that?
Yes.
Still do takeout for.
Well,
not that I don't want the food.
Oh,
but-
hopefully, yeah. Maybe, hopefully, some of the good will come out of this. That we will look at. Businesses will get other ways to deliver that. We'll get new products, new things, new ways of doing this stuff. Again, look at the private. Again, the private sector is adapting. They're like Chili's and all these other companies. Okay, they can't. They have to adapt in the environment. That they're in at this particular time. So that's like Dwayne pointed out, the MyPillow guy's building up in like a week, 50,000 masks in a week. He's up to production.
So go to Chili's.com and order your food today, and they will bring it out to your car. You just got to sit there. I sat there and talked on the phone to my bestie while they brought out my food. It was amazing. Also go to LOLE.com. I'm sporting some of his jewelry today. He's an amazing person. Puts a lot of work into his jewelry. He has mood rings, stackers for rings, stackable necklaces. He's amazing. Go on there and check him out and tell them that we sent you.
There you go.
I did that too quick, didn't I?
No, that was fine.
Okay.
No, we have time.
Now's
to
the
fill
perfect time to go online and order somebody you
support,
love some jewelry.
and that's support the local businesses.
Exactly.
They're the ones that are getting killed in this the worst. Just especially like restaurants, bar owners.
And get a 6-pack and invite me over.
Yes.
just kidding.
Yes, no, she's not. and then. But no, it is. I mean, support your local businesses because, man, they're
always.
They not only always, but especially in this, they're really taking the brunt of this whole enchilada. We'll be back on tomorrow on Thankful Thursday of doing that, and we'll bring you all the news and views and things that are going on
and the conspiracy
all across it. Yeah, we might.
And write in if you guys want a tinfoil hat.
Yes.
$20.
There you go. What a discount.
We're gone.